Welcome to the Bigger Pockets Money Podcast, show number 166, Finance Friday edition, where we interview Nathan and Kristen and talk about paying off debt and being intentional with your money. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Mindy Jensen, and with me, as always, is my world's worst Robert De Niro impressionist co-host, Scott Trench.
You talking to me?
No, we're talking to Nathan and Kristen. Scott and I are here to make financial independence less scary, less just for somebody else, and show you that by following the proven steps, you can put yourself on the road to early financial freedom and get money out of the way so you can lead your best life.
Whether you want to retire early and travel the world, go on to make big-time investments in assets like real estate, start your own business, or maybe relax a little bit on the long-term wealth creation and enjoy the present a little more, we'll help you build a position capable of launching yourself towards those dreams.
Scott, I am excited and a little nervously excited to bring the story today of Nathan and Kristen not because I don't like their story, but because my advice to them is a little unconventional for me.
Yeah, Mindy and I think we had a really raw, great discussion. This is a couple who's I think doing a lot of things really well and a lot of things right, but isn't really able to have freedom in the present, given a lot of their financial choices. They're building wealth for the long term at the expense of the present, which I think is an unusual one that we haven't come across yet very much in our experience, Mindy, you and I. And so I think, it was a fascinating discussion. It was an emotional discussion. And Mindy and I actually disagreed on the right approach. And I think Mindy was right. So we'll see how it turns out and what you guys think. But I'm excited to bring them in.
I agree. I am right, Scott. But yes, I am excited to bring them in. I think that your idea has merit, and I hope they are able to explore it and see how that would help their financial situation. One more thing before we bring in Nathan and Kristen. My attorney makes me say the contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither Scott nor I nor BiggerPockets is engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should seek your own advice from professional advisors, including lawyers and accountants, regarding the legal, tax, and financial implications of any financial decision you contemplate.
Love it. Now, should we go tell Nathan and Kristen what to do with their money?
Nathan and Kristen, welcome to the BiggerPockets Money Podcast Finance Friday edition. I'm so excited to have you today. I'm really excited to share your story with people because I think a lot of people are going to listen to this show and say, oh, I totally identify with these things that they're doing.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you.
So Nathan and Kristen are a married couple with 3 children. He is a firefighter and she is a part-time teacher for an online school. He also has a side hustle building cornhole game boards, the world's worst named game ever. But it's a lot of fun. Every time somebody
What's wrong with the name cornhole?
Yeah.
Look it up, Scott. Urban Dictionary. Not at work.
Okay.
Once he's retired, he will be eligible potentially for a pension, but he's not relying solely on that for his post-work life. So Nathan and Kristen, let's talk about your income and expenses. First, let's recap your income.
Yeah, so where we're at today is my income for my annual income, typically from the fire department, is around 140 to 150. That includes quite a bit of overtime. That's kind of a regular occurrence for us. And then Kristen is making $22,500 teaching online part-time. So she just started that in August. Yep. So our salaries are about 160 to 170. And then we also have some rental properties that cash flow about between $1,500 to $1,800, depending on expenses. And then, but that money is just left in the LLC for the rental properties. So that's not money that we really count on as expenses or money to live on.
Good. I love that you keep that in there.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what your thoughts are for capitalizing that business when we get to assets in a little bit here.
Yeah.
With your income, can I ask what your base pay is and what percentage is overtime?
Yeah, my base pay is my straight base pay is $107,000 a year. But then there's incentive pays for my certifications and education that they add on there. So that's automatically paid whether I work any overtime or not. So that bumps us up to about 120,000. And then overtime is typically anywhere between 20 and 30,000 a year.
Great. And what kind of hours are we talking about here? What's the, I understand firefighters are sometimes on like for 24 hours in a row. Is that the case for you, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, we work a 24 on, 48 off schedule. So it's 1 day on, 2 days off. And then typically when I work an overtime shift, it's a 24 hours at a time. So when I'm up for overtime, then that comes in like a 24-hour bundle.
Got it. Okay, great. So what I'm hearing here is you've got you've got an unusual schedule with that, of course, but there is some time that you could tap into and that you can access for both recreation and potentially other income sources. Is that fair?
Right. Yes.
How about you, Kristen?
What are my hours?
Hours and salary.
Yeah. What's kind of your time? How much time is going into that income that you're describing there? What's your
So it's
flexibility?
20 hours a week. And it is from home, but I'm also taking care of our 1-year-old with that. So it's Nathan and I kind of juggling her, and it's kind of however I get the 20 hours in a day. So sometimes it's in the evening, sometimes it's in the morning, but I usually try to do about 10 to 2 each day.
Okay, so this is great. You're and is that enabling you guys to not have any daycare expense or those types of things?
Right.
Okay, so this is a very that work is a huge contribution to your savings right here with this the way you set that up. So okay, great. Let's go through expenses. What are some of the big ones there?
So our monthly spending right now is at $6,600 a month. That includes a $950 457, which is our the government version of a 401k, so a $950 a month loan repayment. And then so for auto expenses, we're spending about $600 a month, including gas and insurance, service and toll road. Our utilities, including phone, internet, gas, water, electric, are around $500 to $550. Life insurance for both of us, each of us have a policy is $120 total for the both of us. One of those is a life insurance plan that I signed up early on in our marriage. It's a return of premium policy, so it's a higher monthly expense. I get the premium back, but probably would be doing a lot better if I had that money going in, a lower monthly. But I haven't really looked into what it would take to get out of that policy and into something else, and if at this point, after 10 years, if it'd be worth making the switch. But so groceries in my food fund at the fire department is $900. So we spend $800 on family groceries and about $100 and $100 on my food fund at the station.
And within the food budget is like all toiletries and all of that, dog food, diapers. So it's not just food; it's anything you buy at the grocery store.
And you have a family of 5. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just had somebody on here who had a same budget for a family of 2. So I'm curious. I imagine that you're reasonably disciplined there. There's not much to go hunting for in that budget, but I'd be interested to see if there's.
That's pretty. We've tried to do less, but just found that it's better just to go ahead and plan for a little bit more, because we're going to end up going over budget. And this way, we've got in the budget. And we know how much we need to make up.
And I don't know anything, but it sounds like kids get bigger as time goes on, eat more.
That's how it works typically. Yep.
Some of those little ones scarf down a ton food too.
We got a couple of ears for sure.
So do I.
And then so we have gift and donations category. That includes our tie to church and some missionaries that we're supporting. And so that's about $900 a month. And for home expenses, including our mortgage and our escrow, We do have weed control in there, but for home improvement, and we do house cleaning every 2 weeks. So for just home improvement budget, we budget $100 a month. That doesn't always get spent, but can add up. We have a cleaning every 2 weeks, and that's $170 a month. And that was a trade-off for Kristen being able to go back to work and watch the kids. And so that's been actually a positive change for us. So she's making about $1,600 a month. And so the trade-off there was $170 every month for a couple cleanings. So good deal on my part, I think. And then the mortgage and escrow our principal and interest is $1,185 a month. And then we do our own escrow into our savings account, and we add $800 a month into that. That's like a $6,400 a year in taxes, $1,500 per year in home insurance, and then about $700 a year in HOA fees.
Can you what one more? So is it 1185 in mortgage plus another 800 a month in
Correct.
those items? So we got about
So
bumping up against $2,000 or 1,900.
Yes, that's correct. And then we're in the works of doing a refinance on the house. So we're at like 3.875 and on a 30-year, and then we're looking at going to 2.75 on a 30-year, and with about $1,000 in closing costs. So that will reduce our monthly budget by about $170. Our mortgage, anyways, by $170 a month.
Ooh, now you just made up your house cleaning.
Yeah, there you go. I hadn't looked at it like that before. That's good.
So I would say 3 years ago, Mindy would say, oh my goodness, you should clean your house yourself. Now Mindy says, go ahead and pay that fee. Nathan, you think you're getting the best end of that deal? No, Kristen's getting the best end of that deal.
Oh, well, no, I think I am, because everybody's happier for sure. and it does free us up. Before that, I was helping a little bit more with the house cleaning and stuff, and trying to do side gig stuff. So it does free us up, just mind space and opportunity for other money making ventures, and then just time to, in all that, some time to just relax too. So it's been a big help.
That mind space is huge.
Yeah.
Having mental space to just not be worried about, oh, I got to do all this. Like, that is not just mind space. That's like a lift off your shoulders too. So, 3 years ago, Mindy was wrong.
Yeah. And I think it's just, whatever season you happen to be in at the time, it just kind of changes with that.
So I'm doing some mental math here, and I've got, I'm rounding a little bit, but I got 2,100 or so for the mortgage and cleaning plus utilities, puts us at about 2,650 for your housing and related expenses, right?
Yes.
Then we layer in $600 for the car, gas, and insurance, or at about 3,100 here. You got another 900 for groceries. That puts us at about 4,000. We've got 900 a month in giving, and that puts us at about 4,900, and we've got a little bit of life insurance there as well. So on your income of 6,700 after tax, we're talking about a $1,700 net savings after that. Is that what you're experiencing, or are we missing a couple things still?
Yeah, and so we've also got clothing budgeted, and so we budget about $180 for the whole family per month. And again, that doesn't always get spent, but we can either put that into savings or use it, or let it add up for when we do need to spend more on clothing. Then we have a miscellaneous budget of so each, Kristen and I both get $60 a month for just random stuff that comes up, and then family entertainment we've got at $100 a month right now. So that all added up together, with including the loan repayment, comes out to be about $6,600. And then like we said, our base income is our take home is about $6,100. So that leaves us a negative cash flow each month of about 558. But that doesn't include our 457 contributions, which we're maxing out. It doesn't include about $600 that goes from Kristen's check directly into our savings account, and then that funds our Roth contributions of $500 each month. And then so my pension takes out 7% of my check each month before taxes and before take home. And then we also can contribute about $475 a month, or we're maxing out our HSA as well. And so that our employer matches or contributes $1,500 a year to that. And then we contribute the rest to max out. This year is $7,200, and then next year I think it's $7,300 a year for the HSA.
Okay, I want to break that down in a second here, because you're not coming up negative 500 a month short. You're investing heavily, and with all that. But let's talk real quick about that loan repayment that you just described. Can you describe that loan and what that is and what's going on there?
Yep. So I took a $50,000 loan from my 457 plan in January. The original plan. So at that time, we still had 2 car loans going on, and we also had about, let's see. Yeah, no, we had another $20,000 on rental property mortgage that we had in January. So we had about $50,000 of auto loans and mortgage left on a rental property that we have. We took that $50,000 loan initially to use that as money to buy more rental properties, use it kind of like a BRRRR, buy the rental property, fix it back up, refinance it, get that $50,000, and keep using that $50,000 as cash to purchase more rental properties. We ended up doing that. We bought one property in Oklahoma. We bought it off of auction.com for about $50,000. We put 15 into it, and then we refinanced it for 55. So we ended up leaving 10 to 15,000 in that property after closing cost. And then so we had the rest of that money. We had about $40,000 of that loan left in our accounts. And so just going back and forth of deciding whether or not we wanted to keep using that money to buy more properties, but decided we really want to invest more in the future out of a position of strength instead of like maxing out our dollars to buy the next property. And so we used that money and money that we have just saved over the year to finish paying off our vehicle loans. We paid off the $10,000 that we had left at that point on our mortgage on our rental property that we had in January, and then we ended up selling one of our vehicles, the van, which was the more expensive car that we had, and replaced it with a Honda Civic that we got for about half the price. And so paid off those, and then bought a cheaper vehicle to replace some of those funds into our savings. And so that now we're left. We've got our emergency fund built up. We've got some operating money in our LLC still. But we've got about $42,000 left on that 457 loan that we want to try and get paid off as quick as possible. And then that's going to create the room in our personal budget each month to feel like we've got a little more freedom.
Yeah. So I love the concept that we're introducing here and the way you're thinking through the situation. Basically, if you're listening and you're wondering what a 457 loan is, basically it's a loan against your retirement assets, right? So this is a loan that you're taking out from yourself, and you're paying interest back into your retirement plan. Is that correct? Is that how you're understanding?
Yes. And so, yeah, we took the loan, the fees are almost nothing. And then we repay the loan at a 5% interest, but that 5% interest is being repaid to ourselves. So we're paying ourselves back at 5% interest. The side of taking a loan from your retirement account is you're not making any interest on that money while you have your loan taken out. And then also the money that you're paying back into the 457, which is like 401k, is after tax dollars. And so you're paying it back with after tax dollars. And then when you pull it back out, it's going to be taxed again. So there's some definite trade-offs when you decide to take a loan like that from your retirement account.
Yeah, I think that I think you have some great points here. Generally speaking, here's what I like and don't like about your thought process with this. I love the fact that you are thinking about how do I refinance basically certain debts and consolidate them, make it simpler, probably have a different interest rate, those types of things. That's a great thought. And I also, I love both things. I love the fact that while you initially started out thinking about how do I use this to accelerate my real estate investing, you stop that thought process and you're like, no, we're going to build a financial position of strength from which to invest. I think that's the root cause of a problem that you're dealing with now, which is you got a $900 drag on your liquidity position per month. That's $12,000 a year. That's pretty impactful to your ability to do the next deal or whatever, because you have to pay back this loan into your 401k. That the root cause of that is not having the high savings rate and ability to build wealth outside of those retirement accounts or tax advantaged accounts.
Right.
And I think that should be, I think, a goal of your guys as a household is to, over the next 6 months or a year, put yourself in a position where you can get that anchor out of your liquidity position, build a strong cash position, and have a strong net savings rate even after all the great things you're doing. You're doing a lot of things right. You're in a great income. You've got you are building wealth pretty aggressively with these pensions, Roths, HSA, 457 contributions. It's just you're not able to build liquidity, so you don't have any of that. You're not realizing any of that freedom that finance can give you in the here and now. Is that a fair articulation of the situation?
That's our big, that's what we talk about a lot, is just as far as having that freedom to really move our focus off of finances, and really less of just moving our focus off of finances, more of moving our focus off of how much do I need to work this month to make sure we cover the expenses or are still able to save. And so being able to get our expenses below, or at least our take home pay each month and have some extra room there, and below take home pay before any overtime or before any side gigs, so that any of that is extra and we just do it when we want to do it. And we can focus more on, just our church and our friends at church and our family and on stuff.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's completely correct. And so when you think about that, the elephants in the room in terms of your financial situation that are holding you back from that are your housing expense. You got $2,700. That's nearly 50%. That's much more than even the average American household is spending on housing expense. And that's most of what you got there. Your other stuff is pretty tight, right? I think you got a pretty reasonable situation with the car, gas, and insurance for a family of 5. I think you got a pretty reasonable grocery situation. I'm sure there's something you can do there on the discipline side with that. And like, we're going to say, no, stop donating and tithing to your church? No, we're not going to, that's ridiculous advice. So that's I think that's your elephant in the room in terms of on the expense side.
Yeah.
I think a position to think about is how do you get to a place where you've got 3 to 6 months of liquidity just sitting there in the bank and you're feeling pretty good. And you've got a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month net, even after that after-tax wealth building or the pre-tax wealth building stuff that you're doing a great job of currently. And from there, you're going to feel a lot better about real estate investing because you're not going to be buying more properties, which are then requiring you to suck more cash on an ongoing basis out of your position. They're going to be adding cash to your financial position and beginning to multiply like that. Right. I think that's what's going on with your portfolio right now is you've got this real estate portfolio. You're not taking any cash out of it. You say it's cash flowing, but it's not contributing to your net position here. And in fact, it's taken out $1,000 a month because you got to go back to that 457 loan.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
What do you think, Mindy?
I think you're correct. And I'm wondering how we can pay that loan off faster or slower. Is the $940 the lowest, the minimum repayment?
Yep, that's the minimum. So it's any loan that we take out is required to be paid back in 5 years. And so I just put it at the maximum of 5 years, but we can't, I can't make any extra payments until I have the lump sum. So I can't say, hey, I want to pay, as far as I know, I can't say I want to put $1,000 extra in this month, but then go back to the 950 next month. So yeah, the only way that I can get that paid off sooner is to add up the lump sum in my savings and then pay it off all when I have the principal, whatever the principal is at that time, to pay off my lump sum.
I don't have enough experience with this specific type of loan. And you brought up some really good points about the pre-tax versus after-tax arbitrage, which I got to think about a little bit more. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you on the spot feedback on that one. But how are you forced to pay that back every month at that rate, or is there a compounding interest situation there? What happens if you temporarily don't pay that?
Well, the loan would go in default, and then they would just say that you have taken a withdrawal from your account, and then you get penalized plus taxed on whatever the principal is left on that loan.
Yeah, that's that. And when you separate from service, or from your company, if you don't repay it within like 3 months, they just assume the same thing. They assume that it's a disbursement, and then they tax you at your current income tax rate and also a 10% penalty. So it's just like withdrawing money early from the fund.
Right.
I've done this a couple of times, and I like these loans. I like these loans because if I'm going to pay somebody 5% interest, I want to pay me. The pre-tax versus post-tax money argument, I get it. Sometimes it's just easier to take a loan from your retirement account than go through all of the things to go pay somebody else 5%.
Yeah.
So is there any help from the cash flow of the rental properties that you could put towards the 457 repayment, because that's where you put the money in the first place, was towards the rental properties? Can you use, it looks like $1,600 a month coming into the LLC for the rental properties. Can you take that and make your payment instead?
We could. The problem that we have there right now is we have about $15,000 in savings, and then about $6,000 in our checking account in our LLC. And I'd rather have that closer to 25,000 in our savings for the LLC. So I want to keep building that up. And then we've also got on one of our properties, a rehab so we had a bad tenant. It's going to end. We're replacing a furnace and a water heater all at the same time. So within the next 15 days, I'll have about a $14,000 payment that I've got to make on one of those properties to get it back and rent ready.
So you're gonna have to finance that with equity of the property, like a HELOC or something.
Well, no. So we've got the money in the savings account to make that, but then I don't want to take any money out of the LLC right now until that savings account gets built back up.
Great. I think it's perfect. And I think you're doing a smart thing there. You're capitalizing your business appropriately to be able to handle this, right? If you don't have that savings in the LLC, this is called a disaster, and you become a motivated seller. Because you have it, it's called a capital expense, and you're going to rebuild your position there. Yeah. So I think it's part of the deal. So
and then another benefit we have there with the LLC is we have a $120,000 line of credit, because we have 4 rental properties. One of them we have a 30-year mortgage on. It's like a $289 monthly mortgage. And then on the other 3 properties, I have a portfolio line of credit, but I don't have any money pulled from that. It's just sitting there. If we did have another emergency come up, then we could use that money if needed.
Great. I think it sounds like you're well capitalized in your rental business. I think you're very wise not to tap that line, that credit, because if you do and you're wrong or it doesn't work out, you're just compounding the current situation that you've got here, where again, you're doing lots of good things right. In 10 years, these are all great moves that you're making. You're just going to be continuing to dip in this current period, which is probably very frustrating for you and probably the root problem. Am I kind of on it with this?
Yes. Yep.
Great. So let's talk about the solution set here. Your rental property situation is not going to provide cash flow that is meaningfully going to change the name of the game in its current situation. Is that correct?
Yeah, as far as our personal living expenses and day-to-day living, we're just kind of pretending like that money's not there.
Great. And look, I think you have to make a decision here between these things and say you have a lot of wealth and you're putting a lot of cash flow into three places right now. One is into your home living situation, which is your major leverage point on the expense side. The other is your retirement accounts, which I think, you're certainly going to be able to hit a goal of having a good amount of wealth in 10 years with that approach. I think you said your pension, you'll be eligible for a pension in 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to be grinding it out between now and then. But I think at that point, you're going to be sitting reasonably pretty if you continue with those. And then your real estate portfolio is your other source of significant assets, per my understanding. Am I missing other assets or other areas where your money's going?
No, just the HSA as far as assets.
Which is another pre-tax retire. Yeah, pre-tax.
Right. Yeah. And then so as far as our home, we've talked about buying a house that we could house hack, essentially, where we could either build a space or that already had space for we could rent out like a mother-in-law type suite or something like that. What's keeping us from being able to do that right now is we are foster parents to our third child. And so there's a lot of home studies and requirements that go into being able to have a child placed in your home. And so changing that up right now would be difficult. And then we're also in the process of, we would like to adopt, but there's some court stuff that's going on with her case. And so we've got every 2 to 3 months a $4,000 lawyer fee that we're paying right now, and so that's kind of indefinite until we can the situation gets straightened out. And so that's kind of increased our drive to work overtime, work side gigs, and then so that's kind of where that's where a lot of our money is going right now.
This is amazing. I just admire the good work you guys are doing so much with this. It's really impressive, and the sacrifice that you're making to do that good stuff. I mean, wow. What a great reason to have this complicated wrench in your housing situation. Okay. Well, let's think about this. So your goal, I think I can't see a reason why your portfolio is not going to give you a really good shot at building wealth over the next 10 years. You're not going to get rich quick with your current situation. If nothing big changes. But I think your choices here are, if you can keep pushing through and clearing that $500 a month, a couple of things are going to happen over the next 5 years. One, your 1-year-old, I believe you said a 1-year-old, is going to go to school, and that's going to enable you, Kristen, to work more hours and change the income situation. 2, you're going to pay off that $940 loan, which is going to, which will just happen over time. And gradually these items will clear up, and I think you'll get continue to be tight on that budget and continue to change that cash flow. If that's too slow for you, if you want a faster transition, you're going to have to figure out a way with that to make a change in the housing situation. You're going to have to consider recapitalizing or selling off a portion of your real estate portfolio, or you're going to have to consider, well, I guess you have 2 more options after that. You can consider changing how much money you're allocating to your pre-tax retirement and Roth IRA situation, or 4, you can grind out a lot more hours to try to generate more income, right? I think those are your 4 options that I'm seeing. What do you guys think? Am I missing something? Or Mindy, do you have any other things that you're thinking about?
I don't love to suggest cutting back on retirement contributions, but since he has a pension, that is a little bit different. What is your pension versus what you're making now, We just spoke with somebody who is military, and when he retires, he gets 50% of his current salary.
Yeah. So the way my pension works is they have a formula that they calculate, and they have an estimated year of death. And so from the time that you retire until that, I think it's like 82 or something like that, is so if you retire at 46 and the age of death is 82, then however many years that is divided into the amount of money that you have contributed to the pension plan, with interest calculated into that over the years, is the amount that you get paid per month for the rest of your life, whether you live to 60 or you live to 100.
Okay.
And
Do they give you any sort of estimates in advance?
Yep. And so we can run estimates, and it's all calculated on the amount of money that you're making over the last couple of years. And so if that amount changes, these estimates can go up or down. But if I retired at 46, which would be the first year that I'd be eligible for retirement, so they have all different options that you can take, like 100% survivor benefit, and then you also have an option of taking a lump sum from your retirement when you retire. So what I would choose to do is take the full partial lump sum that I was eligible to take and roll that into my 457 plan, and then I would get a $4,200 a month monthly payment if I retired at 46. And at that point, if I rolled the $200,000 into my deferred comp, which is my 457, I would have about $900,000 in that 457 plan. And then if I calculate 4% from that 457 plan, that would give me another $3,000 a month on top of the $4,000 a month that I would be receiving for my pension.
So you're gonna have plenty of income in retirement.
Yeah, it should be good there.
My first reaction to that is like, why have this kind of look? Again, I'm just getting inside your head, so please tell me if it's different. But I presume, based on what I'm hearing here, and you being on the show, that there's a little bit of frustration or disgruntledness, or I don't know, with the current financial situation that you guys are going through. Is that correct? I keep saying.
Yeah. So and Kristen can probably speak on this more than I can, but because we have a little bit different goals on finances. I'm more focused on finances, and I want to get to my goal like tomorrow. So I want to get to that 10-year goal tomorrow. And Kristen's logically okay with reaching the 10-year goal in 10 years. I'm always focused on, okay, what can I do to sign up for more overtime, or how can I make more money in the side job, and so that focus steals a lot of time from family and just that free space that we need to have to feel like we can have better relationships. But I'll let Kristen.
Yeah, I would just say, when you brought up the option of keep grinding, I say that's not an option. If he's been grinding since we got married, and he just has an incredible capacity for extra work and not a lot of sleep, and just hanging Christmas lights and cornhole boards. And I mean, he's got a lot of skills and puts it a lot of places, but I think he could keep running at this rate, and then we could get to 46 and he's all broken down in one way or another, physically so I'm at a point where I feel like I'm not willing to make the sacrifice of the lifestyle that we live, where it's just constantly working extra for our kids and for me. And yeah.
Okay. I got this one, Scott, because I am in Kristen's position. I am married to Nathan too. My husband never stops ever. And on the one hand, that's awesome. It's so much better to be married to somebody who is ambitious than somebody who is lazy. But you see them working so hard, and you want them to take a break. You want them to relax. Like, hey, it's okay to read a book that isn't teaching you something. Getting that through my husband's head was amazing because all he wants to do is keep learning and keep learning. And well, when are you enjoying yourself? So I completely understand what you're saying, Kristen, on that front. And also, I am on the other side of 46, and you are not wrong. You hit 45, and all of a sudden your body's like, well, we're old now. Everything hurts. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's great to keep in shape. You absolutely should keep in shape. But I completely hear what you're saying, Kristen. And the pension, if you didn't have a pension, I would have different advice. But this is all for you guys, and this is based on your personal experience. And based on your pension, I would maybe pull back on the 457 contributions for next year until the loan is repaid and the adoption goes through and these big fees are just taking money out of your liquidity. And I like the Roth contributions still, because that's a lower amount. The pension is, it kind of sounds like it's involuntary. You get 7% taken out automatically all the time. Scott, I would be interested in hearing your thoughts on that, but $4,000 every couple of months is going to be, I mean, that's like $2,000 a month that we didn't actually include in your list of money here. And the 940, that's another $1,000 rounded up. Scott, what do you think about maybe pulling back on the 457 contributions for a little bit because they have the pension?
I really respect that advice. I think I'll take a completely different tact here though with it, because I think my favorite outcome is that is you guys really sit down and you say how with regards to your housing situation. Because to me, one of the things about like Texas is that there are some cheaper housing options in many cases than perhaps, for example, here in Colorado. I'm not sure about Denton specifically, but I really think that is, if you can figure out a way to somehow reduce that housing expense by 1,000 or $1,500, and that's net of your mortgage, escrows, and your utilities that are going into that. That's going to make everything so much easier. That allows you to not stop anything with those types of things. The second place I'd look, if that becomes truly not an option, is and this is BiggerPockets. Yes, I'm here at BiggerPockets and I like real estate. I wonder if your real estate portfolio isn't costing you more in the here and now than you need. We just talked about that. You're probably going to be working for the next 10 years to get that pension. So within 10 years, you're going to be, if you just keep up the 457, the Roth, the HSA, and the pension, you're going to be done, right? So if you can have a much better here and now, right now, get that 6-month liquidity position fortified, get some solid savings, pay off that debt, and get a really solid financial foundation. I wonder if you might not benefit more from that than the real estate portfolio. And then you can always come back or to the real estate portfolio and rebuild it in a few years. So frankly, those are the first two places my instincts are telling me to look, which is completely different from Mindy's there, frankly. So what's your reaction to that, guys? How do you feel about those two conflicting opinions or different areas?
I think we've tried to look at options for housing, and Denton is pretty expensive. I feel like we've tried to, there wouldn't be any other houses. I mean, I think the only other option we could possibly consider would be like having a college girl, live in one of our rooms. But again, that goes back to the whole fostering and background check, which we could do. But I just don't know that our house just feels like chaos. And I just don't know that anyone wants to live with us. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the housing, we went through a season of looking for some housing that, that we could find a house that we could rehab and, have lower monthly expenses on housing. Or like we said, do some type of house hack where they could really have a separate space, whoever the renter was, and bring that down. But for right now, in the season we're in with our kids being so little and with the foster restrictions, it seems like again, it's just a mind space trade-off of searching for the perfect house that would reduce our monthly expenses enough, or finding a house that needed rehab and then putting the work into the rehab. So I think for the housing, we like being, because we have moved quite a bit, and so just being stable in housing for the season we're in is a good option for us. And then we do have an upstairs extra bathroom, living space, bedroom, and if we did stay in this house, once our just kids got a little bit older and got a little less chaos, then consider having like a college girl move in and take some of that housing down. As we really like the idea of that, or even once we get a little more settled, then being able to look at the like just the perfect house for our situation would be good. So and then looking at if we were to sell off some of our rental properties right now, when we did get back into them, we bought these properties for like 3 of them that we've got in the St. Louis area. We bought them for $20,000 to $30,000, so that like we'd never be able to find those deals again in that area. Getting back in, so it's nice that they're paid off over there.
When you go through that real estate thing, by the way, that's wonderful, right? I got the same problem. I bought a property for a while back for like $240 a duplex, and now it's worth $450. Yeah. What a fantastic problem! I'm never going to buy that again for $240, right? But that's not the analysis right now. The analysis is right now I am every day I'm not selling it. I'm buying a property or holding a property that's worth $450 and rents for X. Is that still a good investment today?
Right.
Is the question, right? Net of transaction fees, because I'm buying it with no transaction fees if I continue to hold it. And when I sell it, I'm going to be incurring transaction fees. So there is an advantage to holding rather than selling and going somewhere else. But I would just encourage you, when you think about it, to acknowledge that good problem, be like, man, I made a lot of money. That's a great problem. Am I deploying it right now? Right. Be ruthless in that analysis.
Yeah, so our return on not the initial investment, but what the properties are worth now.
What's it going to do in the next 5 years, in your opinion, in your best guess? That would be how I would think about that one.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and when you go to sell those rental properties, remember you do incur a lot of fees when you're selling a rental property. You have to recapture depreciation regardless if you took it or not. You have to recapture that. You have to pay capital gains taxes if you're not going to 1031 into something else. You have to pay commissions to the real estate agent, and on and on and on. So selling shouldn't be something that you just do on a whim. Really run through those numbers and see if it's worth it. But what is your adoption timeline? Oh, I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
On that note, I was just going to say, we'll set you up with the BiggerPockets Pro account, and go ahead and just use the calculators and analyze them. Use our rental property calculator and analyze it as if you're buying it fresh with the amount of equity that you've got in the property right now, and see what your return is on that. Yeah. And ask yourself, is that high enough to justify my continuation of this slog if I'm not willing to do the housing or the 457 or whatever on that?
Yeah, just rough numbers on those. Each of those properties are worth around $70,000. It averaged out, and I'm getting like $900 rent on 2 of them, $825 on the other, with minimal fees for taxes are pretty low up there, and all the other expenses that typically come out. So it's still a decent return on.
Yeah, you might be like, yeah, that's a good move, and I'm not doing that. That's fair. But those are the places to look. Those are the only places. Those are the big places I think you can look without going into the stuff that's really going to impact your day to day. It's going to be the housing. It's going to be that real estate portfolio, or it's going to be these pre-tax retirement situations.
Yeah, and I do kind of like the idea of, if changing any of those, maybe reducing the 457 right now and leaving the real estate alone, just for a little more diversification, as far as once we did get to retirement, to be able, if stocks are down or whatever, then I can reduce the amount of money that I'm taking out of the 457 and use some of that real estate money to offset some of that.
So how stable is your pension plan? I know that some union pensions can be I think it was the Chicago Teachers Union pension was invested in something that wasn't doing very well, and they were down quite considerably.
Yeah.
Do you know about the strength of your pension?
Yeah. So as far as in Texas, we have like one of the strongest pensions. It's a municipal retirement system that several cities are in, and it's not based off of just one city's ability to. So it's really scrutinized by the state of Texas, and yes. So from our knowledge, it's one of the stronger ones in the state,
Good.
and
It should
probably in
be.
the country. Yeah.
And what is your adoption timeline?
Well, because of COVID, everything's been pushed back in the court system, and so it truly is indefinite. It could even be 12 to 18 more months. I've had her since she was 2 weeks. She's 18 months, so she could be almost 2 or 3. So it's just indefinite, and then the lawyer bills are intermittent and there's just no way to know.
Yeah, so sometimes there's more activity in the case, and so the lawyer obviously has to spend more hours on it, and sometimes there's less, and so there may be several months before we have to pay the fee again. So, but we've been really well taken care of. So even our family has assisted a little bit in those lawyer fees. There has been plenty of overtime for me to, which is a trade-off. But it's been really good that we've been able to get enough overtime to cover that. We had and then in November I hang Christmas lights, and so that's a really big boost during the month of November for us. So that so we've been able to pay those fees, and still our net worth has increased each month, even with all those extra expenses. So that's been, yeah. So the big goal is there just to pay those as they come in without having to dip further into savings than we typically would.
Yeah, that's a great
I
goal.
think we're like I'm super comfortable from my seat that you're going to be pretty wealthy over the next 10 years. The concern is not really how you're building wealth. I think it's about how you're building. I have this concept called financial runway. That's what you're lacking right now. You have no financial runway, or you're not building any. You're depleting it on an average basis unless you put in a lot of extra grind. To build financial runway is the cash or liquidity you have access to, net of your household expenses. So for example, you spend about $600 a month. 1 month of financial runway is $6,600 in savings or cash. So, to have 3 to 6 months of runway, I think you're going to feel a lot better about your situation. And if you're having a surplus on top of that you can actively choose to then allocate however you want, whenever you want, I think you're going to be feeling a lot more comfortable. And that's going to allow you, Nathan, to potentially ease back a little bit on what I sense is an extreme sense of urgency on earning that next dollar or finding that next income opportunity. Yes. And really, think about, hey, how do I not earn an extra dollar? How do I strategically develop a portfolio that just makes this game really easy for me on an ongoing basis? And then maybe you find a passion project that's just fun that you're going to invest just as heavily in, but you're not doing it out of this sense of, I'm trying to claw out of this pit, to get my finances in order. That, again, and we've just talked about multiple ways to do that. I'm very interested. I don't think we're going to come to a decision on the show here today with you guys. I'm interested to see what you guys kind of discuss amongst yourselves and think about, and which path you choose to go of the ones outlined, or if you find a new creative one. I don't know, but I think that should be the goal. I think you should, hey, how do I get 3 to 6 months of financial runway and a position where I'm accumulating at least 1,000 or 2,000, 1,000 to 1,500 a month in runway, not this stuff that I can't access. That's frustrating, frustrating our financial position on an ongoing basis. Yeah.
So that's another frustrating point for Kristen is I'll tell her, hey, we put this much money into our 457, or we put this much money into Roth, our net worth increased by such and such this month. And it's all like fun numbers, but it's all like, she's like, okay, well, that's not money that none of that money is made in our lives right now.
You're seeing your spreadsheet grow, and she's seeing you working harder and harder, and the hamster wheel spinning faster and faster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the this is where I get into trouble with this, because retirement accounts are very powerful, but like I didn't invest in retirement accounts when I first got started with my financial position because of this very reason, right? It's just a position of control that you're lacking right now, because it's going so heavily into retirement accounts and real estate equity, both in your house and your portfolio, that is not actively helping you gain control over your life. How much different is your situation if you have $50,000 in savings in the bank and a $3,000 monthly accumulation rate, but less in those retirement accounts? You know, I wonder, and this is a dangerous thing to wonder, but I'm going to do it anyways. I wonder if you had way less in your retirement accounts, but that position with your work ethic and the clear passion for building wealth in particular, Nathan, whether you might find ways to generate a lot more real control from that and wealth over a 10-year period than with your current approach. So I don't know how drastic to take that or how far to take that, or whether to but I think that's a worthwhile thought to consider as you're thinking through your portfolio.
Yeah, I think one of my hangups from reducing my 457 is, over the years, I've made some crazy investment mistakes or buying cars, or just not managing the personal budget as well. As I've matured, obviously, a lot of that has been corrected. And even this year, after we didn't start tracking our net worth until like January this year. And so that's helped a lot. But the thing that has kind of saved me up to this point is that the 457 was just automatically taken out. And I never even really thought about it. I didn't even really know what I was investing in until January this year. It was a managed account. The fees were stupid, but at least that money was just going. I wouldn't have to, and what's got us to this point, and now that we have a decent amount in that retirement account, I like that the security of it just being automatically taken out. I don't have to think about it, and I can't mess it up. But I also agree with you that, now that we're kind of on this other side of maturity financially, I think that we can make some better decisions if we did reduce our 457.
Yeah,
so Mindy for the win.
My advice would be different if you didn't have the pension, but that pension is so big. I mean, that's a huge chunk of change that you're going to get every month. Only if you work till 46. If you continue to love your job and you want to stay at it till 51, that's even higher. I'm wondering what your house is worth versus what you paid for it. And, you don't want to sell it and lose money or sell it and break even just to find a house hack potential. But it sounds like you've lived there for several years.
2017.
Yeah, the beginning of 2017, we bought it for $285. And on we calculated in our net worth. I calculated at $310, but it's probably worth more around $330. Just with the houses that have sold around here on our street in the last couple months. But I like to estimate it a little bit lower.
How much does it cost to rent in your local area?
To rent a similar house, it would probably be like $2,200 a month to $2,300 a month.
And would utilities be included in that rent?
No, that's just rent. Yeah, I've looked at some, just looking at Zillow and looking for what people were renting similar houses for.
Okay.
So I think Scott's really excited about you getting a different house. I think something to consider is just reaching out to a real estate agent who understands what a house hack is, and just have them start sending you listings. Here's what we want. We want something either with a second unit attached or detached, or the ability to build a mother-in-law suite, or the ability to build an ADU somewhere on the property. And then just look and start learning the market and see what's out there. Just because you're getting these listings doesn't mean you have to jump on them as soon as something pops up. But you can see, so I could sell my house and buy this house with the income potential, and the income versus, or the expenses of buying versus the expenses of selling is a wash, and then I can now start generating income. Or you would at least know that there's nothing out there, if there's nothing out there, So that's something to just consider, is talking to an agent and just getting on a list of getting rentals listings that so you could potentially move.
And we did do that about 6 months ago. And again, I like the idea. I like your suggestion of, we don't have to do it right now. But when we were looking 6 months ago, it was like, it's kind of the same mindset that it gets me in a trap a lot, is if this is something I want to do, I want to do it right now. And every house that would have maybe a slight chance of working out, I was calling the realtor, I want to go look at the house. And so it was just another thing that kind of sucked time and mind space away from family and being focused here. And so, we stopped that. But even like you said, even if it's not the exact right season for us to do that, to be able to get those listings and to even talk about them together and just have be a way for it to open up conversation about that possibility for when we are ready, and to know the market when it comes up, then I think that's not a bad suggestion either. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Kristen
So we're
should
in a
get the
college
listings.
town.
I think Kristen should get the listings. Don't
Yeah.
share them with Nathan, because you're not going to want to go see them every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But just to review what's out there. It takes a while to find something. So you start looking and you're seeing, $300,000 gets me nothing. Oh, look at this one's $275. This one's $285 and it needs new flooring and it's got ugly paint. Oh, that's something I could do. There's a deal for everybody at some point. And if you're not looking, you're not going to find it. And Nathan's not allowed to look at them. Only Kristen can look at them. And then you can decide, oh, Nathan, you know what? This does look kind of nice. Let's go see it. Or he's going to want to see that and I have no interest. Like if you both have to agree that you want to buy the new house before you go buy it. And sometimes that takes a while, but learning what's out there is also really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think you guys are doing so many things right. I love the fact that the work ethic is clearly there. You guys are willing to grind, that's been the answer for a long time. And you're saying no more. We're going to work smarter, not harder with the stuff, and build a foundation there. I love the fact that you're at least willing to explore every component of the financial position there. And I love the fact that I think we got to the root of the problem, which is just the you're earning good income. You're not being unreasonable in your day-to-day spending. It feels like a grind, and something's got to give on your ability to accumulate liquidity and improve your day-to-day life. I don't know what that's going to be, but I think that now you've got the problem defined, that you guys are going to come up with, again, that really good solution there. And I'm really excited to see what that is. Maybe we could have you back on in a couple of months to hear what it is you decided and how you've been going about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
A lot of good things to think about and talk about. And that's, I think one of the things I've been most excited about coming on the show is just a way for Kristen and I to, again, another reason for us to talk about this stuff and to be more focused on it together as a team, and to figure out what goal we want to tackle. And it's been, just preparing for the show has been a good.
There's no reason. There's no reason with your income and the way you're doing it that you can't have a great, relaxing, wonderful year next year in 2021, and continue to move well on your way to be a multimillionaire before you're 50, but by the age of 46 with that, and have all that. I just think that there's a way to have your cake and eat it too. But you can have anything you want, but you can't have all the things you want there. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we talked about one last thing here, which we could have glossed over, but a big chunk of the limiting and flexibility and your cash outflow is the amount that you guys give. And while that's very admirable in those types of things, you guys are doing much more really than any guest I've talked to, relative to your position, at least on that. And so that's something to think about as time goes. Is there a way to be, do we need to kind of have our situation fixed and really feeling very strong and flexible. And what if that allows you to, instead of paying $900 a month in tithing or giving or supporting other folks, what if that allows you to donate way more of your time, which could be way more valuable to that, or allows you to donate more in a few years? Just something to consider along with that. Doesn't have to be something you change now, but just know that you guys are in the top 1%, in my experience, of givers relative to your position. I don't know about how you think about that, Mindy, but
Yeah, no, top 1, not even 1%, top 1 in the givers. And I'm glad you said that, Scott, because I couldn't think of a nice way to say that. But I mean, that is $1,000 almost every month that is coming out of your pockets. But I also think that there's a way to, I mean, again, I don't like to suggest cutting back on the contributions to a retirement plan, but with the pension, that's a huge advantage that so many people don't have. BiggerPockets should make a pension plan, Scott. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Scott's like, no way. It'll never happen. So, and not reducing them forever, just reducing them until the adoption goes through, until the loan is paid back. And continuing to max out the Roth IRA and the HSA, because the HSA with 3 kids, somebody's going to break something. And, appendicitis, I had my appendix out in 1996 and it cost like $17,000 in 1996. And that's, you're fine. You wake up, you're fine. And you go to bed in a hospital bed. And, after having surgery, it's like the craziest thing. So continuing to max out the HSA, I think, is a great plan for future you guys, because even if you never use it, even if you can cash flow all your medical expenses right now, that is a great retirement plan. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring up the Mad Fientist's HSA article every single time that we talk about this, because he's got an article called HSA, the best retirement account. I should actually look this up before I even sit down. It's the first thing when I type in Mad HSA, the ultimate retirement account by the Mad Fientist. It provides the benefits of the traditional IRA it's like a super IRA. And you can just, if you can cash flow your medical expenses, if you're healthy enough to do that, that's just a great way to sock away an extra $7,300 a year. And let's see, we're going to set you up with a pro account on BiggerPockets. Do you have an account now?
I've got a free account right now.
Okay, great. I will make you a pro account so that you can go and run the numbers on your rental, on the potential new property, on your current property, and see what, see how they shake out and see how it's working out for you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that just little tweaks here with the 457 contribution reduction will help you get through the part of the, that $4,000 attorney fee is, let me tell you, it's not that much fun. But it's so worth it. But it's still $4,000.
I mean, it really is. It's not something we're frustrated over. It's something that we see as definitely an expense that we are very willing to pay for. It's not it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It's just a number that we have to.
Yeah, it's a line item in the budget.
Yeah.
And I'm going to plug the Challenge Everything challenge from Budgets Are Sexy. In 2016, J Money decided I am going to see every line item in my budget and I'm going to challenge it. My insurance, how can I reduce that? My phone bill, how can I reduce that? My cable bill, how can I reduce that? Is there anything around my house I can sell that I don't use anymore? What can I do to get more income or more money coming in and less money going out? And that, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. It's at budgetsaresexy.com/challenge-everything. But that's a really great article for, inspiring you to just, you don't even have to challenge everything. Challenge one thing, challenge, another thing in the month, and see how much you can reduce your expenses and watch your balance kind of shift in the right direction.
Okay.
But I do really I want to check back in with you in a few months. So I will reach out after we're done recording and set that up as well.
Great.
let's see. Do you have a joke for us? Some of the Finance Friday people have a joke and some don't. So that's like
Well,
you can tell us a
yeah,
firefighter joke.
I mean, I've listened to the show a lot, so I was a little bit prepared, but it's not really a joke. It's more of a story. We're in Texas, so we've got a lot of ranchers. And if you need to cut this, then you can. But yeah, so I heard a story about a rancher recently, and he got a new bull and let it out to pasture with his cows. And it was a young bull and just wasn't performing like he was hoping it would. And so he's troubled, and he called the vet, and the vet came out. Of course, gave the bull some medicine, and all of a sudden the bull was ready to go and just taking care of all the cows in the pasture, trying to jump the fence to the cows in the next pasture. And he had a buddy that came up and said, "Man, what did that vet give to the bull?" He said, "I do not know, but it tastes like mint."
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll steer that toward a more appropriate direction here, but that was my attempt at bringing in a steer pun. That was awesome.
Oh, I didn't even get that steer pun at first, Scott. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Kristen and Nathan, I am super excited for the next few months for you, and I'm very excited to talk to you again. So let's circle back in about 3 months.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. It was nice to meet you.
You
Bye.
too.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was a really good recording. I love how we've had a couple of different stories here, and everything is so unique. And you guys just, I love the way you're approaching things, and how, I don't know. Thank you for sharing this with us. I think a lot of people are going to benefit and learn from it, and I did. I hope it was helpful for you guys.
Absolutely. And Mindy, I have been trying to get him to reduce that 457 for so long. So thank you.
Do it. Do it. Because you have the pension. You have so much money. Future you has so much money. But current you needs money too. And current family needs time. So, yeah, Kristen, we are married to the same guy. Mine goes by Carl. So, yeah, this is going to be really helpful. I think there's lots of people who are maybe over contributing now at the expense of what their current situation is.
Yeah.
And you guys look great for the future. And, this isn't, what you're doing now isn't horrible, but you can just free up a little more space if you reduce it, and try out different numbers, reduce it to 75% of what you're currently doing and see how that works. And then if that's not enough, maybe go to 70% or, 65%. And again, in a few years, you can bump it right back up to the max. But I think these few months or years of reducing it a little bit isn't going to have a huge detrimental effect on your retirement.
I can see that.
So, okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now put the kids in front of a movie and have a money date
Yeah.
and set it all out. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
Thank
is going to
you.
be great.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. We'll talk to you
Great.
soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. That was Nathan and Kristen. Scott, what did you think of that episode?
I really like this new format, Mindy, and I think we're going to do a lot more of them. So hopefully you listeners like them as well, this new format as well too, because I just learn a lot here. I think we're able to get a lot more into the details. It's just fun to attack the leverage points in someone's financial position. And, sometimes it brings up the elephant in the rooms, right? The elephants in the room. And there were 4 today that we came across, right? It was the housing expense. It was the pre-tax retirement accounts. I think it was the real estate portfolio, although no one else did. And then also the grind, the fact that the solution for so long has seemed to be just work harder, find more ways to make money so that I can finance all of this investing that I'm trying to do. I want to flip that on its head. The way I approach investing, the way I think most people should approach investing is I invest from a position of financial strength, and each investment I make allows my position to snowball and become easier, not harder. And so that's, I think, the work that they're going to have to undo one way or another here.
I know I said in the intro that I am right, and you should, of course, I agree with you that I'm right. But it was very hard for me to say you should stop contributing to your retirement accounts, or reduce, not stop completely, but reduce the contributions, because they have special circumstances such as the pension and the adoption fees and the loan from the 457 plan. I think that that is something that they should really consider toning down just a little bit to see where they can create a little bit more breathing room in their current financial situation. But I completely agree with you, Scott. The rental properties, I wouldn't encourage them to buy any more at this time. They got such a great deal that it's hard to sell them, but I really hope that they're able to run the numbers through the BiggerPockets calculators and see what that gets them.
Yeah, I think, look, I just wonder, yeah, we didn't get enough of a chance to dive in there, but I just wonder if those properties are sucking cash out of their lives rather than putting cash into their lives, right? I don't invest in rental properties in order to continually commit more capital on an ongoing basis to the portfolio at the expense of my day-to-day life. I invest so that I can pull cash out over time that continues to snowball my position. And I think that that's hard, and that can be difficult in many markets, especially here in 2020. But I think if it can't happen, why are we doing it? Right. And that's my worry about their portfolio, is that it's still several years away from being able, and he's so responsible. He could pull some cash out, but he wants to build a better liquidity position. That's exactly what he should do, and exactly what I do with my portfolio. But I think, look, he's just so many years away from, I think, realizing that in a literal sense from his portfolio and being able to pull that cash flow out. That was where I was kind of feeling about that. So if you're listening, maybe this is not a stay away from real estate, but maybe to understand, like, hey, think about that real long and hard before each deal you go into, to make sure that it will enhance your position rather than suck cash out of your position.
I 100% agree, Scott. Okay, this episode wraps up our very first month of Finance Friday review episodes, and Scott and I just really love this. So if you would like us to review your finances, please fill out the application at biggerpockets.com/finance review. And we're looking for a diverse set of applicants. We're looking for people with kids, without kids, with great retirement plans, with no retirement plans. We're looking for anybody who would like to share their information with us. We're not here to put you on the spot or make you feel bad about past money mistakes. We are here to share your story, because what you are going through is not special. Somebody else is going through it too. In fact, a lot of somebody else's are going through it too. And Scott and I have a collective 38 years of adulting. Most of that comes from me, but Scott's been an adult for a couple of months now too. And we just want to, share a neutral third party's take on what's going on in your life and your finances, because sometimes we can look at it from a different point of view and see where little tweaks can be made where you can't see them because you're sitting in the middle of it and you feel like, oh, I'm making all these mistakes. So far, people aren't making a ton of mistakes, and little tweaks I think are going to send them on a brand new trajectory, almost straight up.
And don't think you're alone in this. I look, we're sitting here, and it's because we're doing this all day long. It seems sometimes like we're able to find some of these situations, maybe not. I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide. But I will say that it's hard to judge it from the inside. So hard that I'm personally struggling with that. And I just went to Mindy for advice the other day, and she was able to give me a lot of really good things by just looking at my situation from an outsider's perspective. So, understand we all struggle with this, with kind of assessing the situation from the inside of it.
Wow, Scott, I think you just said Mindy knows everything.
Mindy knows everything.
So
Mindy is right. Listen to Mindy.
I do not know everything, even though sometimes I think I do. So I certainly act like I do. Okay. Scott, should we get out of here?
Let's do it.
From episode 166 of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast, he is Scott Trench, and I am Mindy Jensen saying, be sweet, parakeet.